The ISO 9000 family contains an individual standard named ISO 9000 2015, Quality Management Systems, Fundamentals and Vocabulary. You can purchase this using this link right here, using the ISO website, the official ISO website. This book, so ISO 9000, lays down the vocabulary and fundamentals of the quality management system, and it explains the 7 principles that we've talked about in the previous lesson or the previous video. So the 7 quality management principles are: first, customer focus, then leadership, then the engagement of people, then the process approach, then improvement, then evidence-based decision making, and last, the relationship management. We're gonna go through each and every one of these from the next video. Now, one thing I want to mention here, that I made this video after I finished talking about the 7 quality management principles, and the reason for this is that I realized that I made a mistake, a simple mistake that doesn't really affect the basis of the course. So you will see that I was talking about ISO 9001 when I'm talking about the principles. So what I really mean is ISO 9000, not ISO 9001. So because ISO 9000 is the standard that explains the principles. ISO 9001 explains the clauses, which of course we're going to talk about in later videos. So you will see that I will write it down as per ISO 9001. So what I mean is ISO 9000, not ISO 9001. It's a simple mistake. For this reason, I didn't want to remake all the videos. It's a simple mistake that doesn't really affect the course or the basis of the course. So my apologies in advance for that. So let's start off with the first quality management principle, which is customer focus. Now, we've already said that the primary focus of quality management is to meet customer requirements and to strive to exceed customer expectations. And this is, of course, according to ISO 9001. And you can see how important the customer is. And also, according to ISO 9001, understanding current and future needs of customers and other interested parties contributes to sustained success of an organization. So the satisfaction of customers and other relevant parties is the key to maintaining success of the organization. To do so, there are a few steps or actions to take. Now, we can start off first by recognizing direct and indirect customers as those who receive value from the organization. And then we can understand customers' current and future needs and expectations. So you must know what the customer wants and needs. You can do so by simply asking people or by doing a poll, some kind of a poll, and I'm pretty sure this is a political poll which has nothing to do with what we're dealing with here, but you get the point. Or you could simply fill up a room with people with different ages and different cultures and simply ask them questions as to what they think the product or service should be. Now, once done that, you can or you should communicate customer needs and expectations throughout the organization. In other words, you need to analyze what the customer wants and needs. Now, once done that, you should link the organization's objective to customer needs and expectations, and you should plan, design, develop, produce, deliver, and support goods and services to meet customer needs and expectations. So in other words, customer needs and expectations should be written on a board or something, because sometimes when working on a project, you get carried away with small details that you forget what the main purpose is. So you always need to remember what the customer needs and expects, and then you must
actively manage relationships with customers to achieve sustained success. We're talking after the product or the service has been delivered. And then you should measure and monitor customer satisfaction and take appropriate action. So you need to see if the customer is satisfied or not, and then take appropriate actions. And then you should determine and take actions on interested parties' needs and expectations that can affect customer satisfaction. So we're not only talking about the customers or clients here, but we're talking about anyone who's related or who's linked to the product or service, or who has a value to the product or the service like the donors, for example. Now, once you've done that, you will notice an increase in customer value, you will notice an increase in customer satisfaction, an improvement in customer loyalty, and this enhances the reputation of the organization. There is also an expansion of the customer base. You will notice customers are increasing. You will also notice that there is an increase in revenue and market share, and this is of course because of the expansion of the customer base. So the second quality management principle is leadership. And leadership is the process by which leaders help themselves and others to do the right things within a given framework. So basically, leaders do things that others just don't, like setting a clear strategy, or building an inspiring vision, or creating something new. So basically, leadership is about mapping out where you need to go to win as a team or an organization. Now, there are a few steps or actions to take to maintain good leadership. Like, first of all, we need to communicate the organization's mission, vision, strategy, policies, and processes throughout the organization. In other words, you need to sit down and analyze what the organization is going for or aiming for. We also need to create and sustain shared values, fairness, and ethical models for behavior at all levels of the organization. We need to also establish a culture of trust and integrity, and we also need to encourage an organization-wide commitment to quality. So, in other words, from the doorman to the CEO, everyone needs to be committed to quality. We also should ensure that leaders at all levels are positive examples to people in the organization. In other words, we don't need someone sending out we don't need someone sending out negative vibes, but we need someone sending out positive vibes. When we say positive vibes, we're talking about pushing the team to their limit, and so the leaders need to be a role example or a role model. Now, we should also provide people with the required resources, training, and authority to act with accountability, and we need to inspire, encourage, and recognize people's contribution. Of course, this is a little bit pointed more to the involvement of people, but it's still the job of the leader. Now, once we've done that, once we maintained a good leadership, we will get an increased effectiveness and efficiency in meeting the organization's quality objective, and we will get better coordination of the organization's processes. We will also get improved communication between levels and functions of the organization, and we will get development and improvement of the capability of the organization and its people to deliver desired results. The third quality management principle is the engagement of people. Engaging people means that people should be fully involved. It means that they are committed to their organization's goals and values, and they are willing to contribute to that organization's success. Forget about the old model where the CEO or the owner or whoever it is at the top management gives the order and everybody else in the organization does the work. No, now everyone is involved. Everyone gives their idea. Now, for this principle to be efficient, people should be rewarded and recognized, and their abilities should be beneficial and valued at the organization, and they should be accountable. They also should participate in the continuous improvement, and they also should evaluate the individual performance. Sharing knowledge and ideas is also necessary for the organizational success. This is why brainstorming meetings are created. Now, this will of course improve, or this motivate the people to achieve their organization quality objectives. It will also enhance the involvement of people in improvement activities, and it will of course make people or help people take appropriate actions. In other words, it will enhance personal development initiatives and creativity, and also it will enhance people's satisfaction. It will also enhance or improve internal relations within the organization. So we've got enhanced trust and collaboration throughout the organization. Of course, this will also increase the attention to shared values and culture throughout the organization. Now, when we say shared values are identified by which an organization is known throughout its business area. So the fourth principle is known as the process approach. So first of all, what is a process? Well, a process is a set or a series of actions or activities which are interrelated, which are carried out in order to achieve a particular result. Basically, a process is any activity that turns an input element into an output element. Now, inputs and outputs could be virtual or physical. When we say physical, it means anything you can physically touch, like I don't know, anything like a phone, like food or jewelry or anything. Or it could be virtual. Virtual could be like information and data, or like a doctor's advice, for example. Now, as I said, a process is any activity that turns input element into output element, of course based on your resources, and resources could be the employees or materials or the cash in your organization. Now we know what a process is. Now, process approach is a management strategy that incorporates the PDCA cycle, or the plan, do, check, act cycle, and risk-based thinking. And of course, we're going to talk more about the PDCA, and we're going to talk more about risk-based thinking later in this video. So that means that processes are managed and controlled. In other words, the organization must monitor, measure, and use related performance indicators to determine effective operations and controls. Now, as I said, the process approach incorporates the PDCA cycle. So what is the PDCA cycle? Well, first of all, it's a series of events. It's a cycle of events. So first of all, we've got planning or plan, which means scheduling or preparing for the improvement, or preparation of the improvement project. This is where you ask, what is the goal here? What do you want to improve? And what's preventing you right now from achieving that improvement or from achieving that goal? So you need to identify the problem and plan. You need to observe and analyze, and you need to define the corrective actions. And then we've got the do step, or the D, which is of course the execution. So this is where the implementation of the improvement project happens. This is where you ask, what actions could you take right now? So now we're taking actions and we're conducting the improvement. After that, you need to check, you need to verify the results of those actions taken. So you're asking, did it work? After that, of course, you're gonna need to act. So if it worked, great, you're gonna do it again. So now you're gonna make that improvement an everyday task or operation. If it did not work, you're gonna need another solution. So now you need to come up with another solution. Now, taking actions according to ISO 9001 requires risk-based thinking, and risk-based thinking is an extension of preventive action. It requires the organization to determine risks to processes and, of course, to the quality management activities. Now, the thing with risk is that there could be positive risk or negative risk. Of course, positive risk would give us an opportunity, and negative risk would create an issue. So our QMS or quality management system requires careful planning, structure, and continuous optimization. The key to this is that you need to ensure that your stakeholders are engaged, and your employees must always be looking for opportunities to meet customer requirements and enhance customer satisfaction. The fifth quality management principle is improvement. Now, in the 2008 revision, this was the sixth principle, and it was known as continuous improvement. Anyway, as according to ISO, successful organizations have an ongoing focus on improvement, which means to have a successful organization, the organization must have an ongoing focus on improvement, which means the improvement never ends. Now, the organization is required to determine opportunities for improvement, and it needs to plan and implement the necessary actions in order to achieve intended results or desired results. The organization also and always needs to enhance customer satisfaction. Now, improvement comes in different forms. We can talk about the improving products and services in order to meet customer requirements and enhance customer satisfaction. We could also talk about correcting, preventing, and reducing undesired effects. Sometimes the lack of qualification in a workplace may lead to non-conformity, so you need to ask which activity is not performed well and why, and what kind of training may help personnel, which means the employees, to do their job better. Now, we can also talk about improving the performance of the QMS or the quality management system, which basically means improving the ability of processes to achieve intended or desired results, and thus the achievement of the quality objectives. Now, performance of the QMS needs to be monitored, measured, and evaluated through many quality tools and methods suggested, of course, by the standard. We can name Six Sigma and benchmarking and the total quality management. We can also talk about improving the effectiveness of the QMS or the quality management system. When we say effectiveness, we're talking about the effectiveness of the planning of the QMS, which means the implementation of processes and operations. Effectiveness also means the effectiveness of processes and activities, and the effectiveness of performance of external providers, which basically means the suppliers and their ability to deliver products and services in accordance with predefined requirements. Now, according to the standard, there are a few steps or actions to take. Now, I wanna mention here, and you have to excuse me, before in the previous lessons I did not mention that these actions are proposed by the standard, are proposed by ISO 9001, the 2015 revision. But anyway, as I was saying, to maintain ongoing focus on improvement, we can establish improvement objectives at all levels of the organization, from the top management, from the founders or the leaders, to every other employee within the organization. We could educate, or we should educate and train people at all levels on how to apply basic tools and methodologies to achieve improvement objectives, and we should ensure people are competent to successfully promote and complete improvement projects. We should also track, review, and audit the planning, implementation, completion, and results of improvement projects. We should also integrate improvement considerations into the development of new or modified goods, services, and processes. Now, according to the standard, this will result in improved process performance, organizational capabilities, and of course customer satisfaction. It should also enhance focus on root cause investigation and determination, which means why did something go wrong or will something go wrong, which of course is followed by prevention and corrective actions. Of course, prevention before something went wrong and corrective actions are after something went wrong. It will also enhance the ability to anticipate and react to internal and external risks and opportunities, and enhanced consideration of both incremental and breakthrough improvement. It will also improve the use of learning for improvement, and it will enhance the drive for innovation. The sixth quality management principle is evidence-based decision making, and just like the name or the title suggests, it's about making decisions based on evidence or data or information, which of course is more likely to produce desired results or outcome. Now, when we say evidence or data or information, so evidence can be in three forms. We've got contextual evidence, which is basically a collection of measurable factors in the organization, like school records or maybe hospital data. We've also got experiential evidence, which is of course data gathered from experience and expertise. And we've got best available research evidence, which is information or data that enables researchers or practitioners to determine whether or not the activity or inactivity is achieving the desired outcome or results. Now, we can say that there are three stages into making decisions based on evidence. The first stage is of course gathering the evidence, is looking for the evidence. So we're first seeking out for the best available research evidence, and we're collecting contextual information on factors that are important to making the decision, and we're drawing upon the expertise and knowledge of others. So we're basically just collecting the evidence or the data or the information. And second, we interpret the evidence, we analyze the data or the evidence or the information, and we're considering the strength, how strong is the research evidence, and we explore the experience, preferences and values of course others. And last, now we're going to take action. Now we're going to apply what we learned from the evidence. So now we're making decisions, and now we're taking actions. Now of course, ISO or the 2015 revision proposes a few steps or few actions to take. We can name a few, like determining and measuring and monitoring the key indicators to demonstrate the organization's performance. When we say key indicators, like financials for example. And we want to make all data needed available to the relevant people, like the leaders in the organization. And of course, we need to ensure that data and information are sufficiently accurate, reliable, and of course secure. And then we analyze and evaluate data and information using suitable methods. And of course, that evaluation needs to be done by people who are competent. And then we need to make decisions and take actions based on those evidence. And this is basically what we just talked about. Now, the standard, of course, expects a few benefits, like improving decision-making processes and the improving the assessment of process performance and the ability to achieve objectives, and of course, improving the operational effectiveness and efficiency and the ability to review, challenge, and change opinions and decisions. And of course, this will increase the ability to demonstrate the effectiveness of past decisions. Relationship management is the seventh and final quality management principle. So, we know that today's organizations do not work isolated. They need to manage their relationships. And effective relationships will allow business partners to leverage each other's resources and learn from each other. So, what the organization needs to do is that it needs to manage their relationship. It needs to maintain relationships with interested parties. Now, of course, when we say interested parties, we're talking about the suppliers, contractors, partners, customers, investors, employees, or society as a whole. Now, to really excel at relationship management, Sometimes when a problem occurs, you need to step back from the problem. You need to stop blaming the ones responsible for the problem, and you need to stop pointing fingers, and instead you need to keep the customer in the focus. And also you need to ask, how does the issue affect them? When we say them, we're talking about the customer here. And what do you all stand to lose if the customer's needs are not met? So you need to step back from the problem and focus on the customer instead. And also, to really excel in relationship management, you should focus on trust. We can name, or we can come up with the example of McDonald's and Bama companies. They have been working for years now without any contract. So you need to maintain a long-term relationship with loyalty and trust, and that's what happened with McDonald's and Bama. They maintained trust, and they maintained a relationship based on trust and loyalty. So basically you need to focus on trust. Now, of course, the standard, or ISO 9001, of course, proposes a few steps or few actions to take, like, of course, knowing your interested parties, the ones that we talked about earlier. You need to also determine and prioritize the interested party relationships that need to be managed, and you need to share information, expertise, and resources with relevant interested parties, and you need to measure performance and provide performance feedback to those interested parties. You also need to establish collaborative development and improvement activities with suppliers, partners, and other interested parties. And the standard also encourages and tells you is that you should encourage and recognize improvements and achievements by suppliers and partners. Of course, the standards expects that by doing so, this will enhance the performance of the organization and its interested parties. It will also create a common understanding of goals and values among interested parties, as well as increasing the capability to create value for interested parties by sharing resources and competence and managing quality related risks. And also by maintaining good relationships, a well-managed supply chain will be created, and that will provide a stable flow of goods and, of course, services.